Thanks for joining us here today. WEKZ AM 1260, FM 95.5, 4 to the point. Mike Zwiefel, please be joined here, coming down from the Belleville School District and talking about some great opportunities for the high school kids and, well, for future Wildcats making their way through elementary, middle school, as they'll make their way into the high school with some awesome opportunities. Here to talk all about it today, District Administrator Nate Perry with us here. To my left, Nate, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Great to see you again here, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you a lot at some sporting events here before long. Didn't come alone. Marie Perry, Communications Director with Belleville.
Thank you for having us. It's a joy to be here.
Hey, thanks for coming in here. And I tell you what, first, Nate, just kind of an overview as we're kind of hitting that first quarter, if you will, of the school year. How's everything going the Wildcat way?
It's going well. I was saying before we got on air here that this is, I would say, our most normal year that we've had since the pandemic. Last year, even although most all the procedures, the routines were back in order, there was still some growing pains of kids getting back in school and going through a regular school day and the entire school year. This year has felt, again, normal, which is fantastic. That's what parents want. That's what students want. That's what our staff wants.
Okay, and this wasn't on our subject agenda, but just speaking off this, did you feel like something was missing the last couple of years coming out of the pandemic? Has it taken a little while to kind of get everybody, I don't want to say caught up, because we all know learning from home was something, right? To put it one way, it was something, an adjustment. Finally feel like kids are maybe catching back up to where they should be?
You bet. In addition to the academics and getting kids back on track out of the pandemic, there was a whole nother social behavioral piece where if you take a seventh grade student, they missed some time in the building, about a year and a half, and so going into the middle school, it was as if we were having mid-year fifth graders in the building in terms of what their experience was, and now being back again to normal for the last 2 years. We're seeing less and less of that, which is great for again, students and our staff.
All right. Well, glad to have you with us here and getting an update here on Belleville. And Marie will bring you in here as well, Communications Director. Hey, I read a piece and it was shared to me, hence why we're here today. Just kind of everybody looking at different opportunities. You're always looking for ways to engage the kids and better them. And you've got a high school yourself right now.
I do.
You guys have put together quite an array of classes for folks at the high school level at Belleville. Talk about this most recent addition to the curriculum here at Belleville High School.
Absolutely. So I'm the mother of a junior. My son actually transferred from Middleton High School last year as a sophomore mainly because of his interest in math and the AP offerings that Belleville has. And I had that unique ability as a communications director to be in the classrooms and seeing what the teachers are doing and seeing what the students are doing. And so I felt like that was a great opportunity for him to seize upon. This year, though, is kind of on steroids because Mrs. Smith went back to school herself this summer. She picked up some additional credits so that she could teach with UW River Falls chemistry in a dual credit program, and then she's also has her master's in physics. So she has started a program this year where the AP chemistry class and the AP physics class are going to be available through River Falls as well for dual credit for our students. So my son has enrolled in the physics program with her this year, and for a very, very minimal cost, he's going to be receiving credit that is going to be used in any of the Wisconsin systems as college credit, which is a better system than maybe even an AP course.
All right. And this was all, how did this get started? Take us behind the tea leaves. How did this opportunity come about from Mrs. Smith going back to school?
You bet. I can take that one. So Mrs. Smith, again, was a graduate of UW River Falls, still stays in contact with some of her professors there. When the opportunity was presented to her to be able to teach a UW River Falls credit, and again, it's a UW system credit, she sprang on that. So again, it started with physics because she has her master's in that. So for Marie mentioned, for $100 per credit, a student in her AP physics class can earn 5 UW system credits for $500, which is obviously much less than what they're going to pay when they get to the next level in post-secondary. Then she asked, could I do this for chemistry? They looked at her transcript. They said, well, you're a few credits short for you to be able to teach this class at the high school level for us. But if you take 6 credits, which she did over the summer, you'd be able to do the same thing for chemistry. Now, the great thing about chemistry is it runs both days in a block schedule. So because it runs all year long for 80 minutes every day, that's actually 10 credits of chemistry through the UW system at $1,000. So again, $100 per credit. So we're very proud to be able to offer that. And I think parents already are finding what a bargain this is. I just paid my own daughter's tuition bill at UW-Madison and know it's not $100 per credit. So it's great for our parents and our kids.
All right. Now this obviously is huge for the kids, right? And the families of these kids that are at Belleville High School. They can take these classes, do so comfortably, right? Because they're taking these with the teacher they know, Mrs. Smith, inside a classroom that they're accustomed to.
Absolutely.
How many kids roughly are taking these types of AP classes?
So my son's class has about 5 students in it at the physics level. He's in AP Calc this year, the BC version as a junior, and I think there are 3 to 4 innate in that class this year. So they're small classes, but AP
I
Lit.
think there's 16 between the physics and the chemistry.
Right.
So on average, about 8 students per class. I think one's got 9 and one's got 7. Typically, we'll have a lot more in an AP class. Some of our AP Literature, AP Language classes are closer to 25. Same thing for AP U.S. History and AP Government, Psychology, of course. The one thing I think that Belleville does well is, Marie mentioned AP Calc BC. That's usually a class that a school our size would not offer, but we will run a smaller class to be able to offer it to our students. Otherwise, they're going to have to go off-site to take it, or not be able to take it, or have to take it virtually. As you mentioned, to have that with a teacher that they know in the building, to be able to get an email response back at night, to be able to go in the morning for help, at lunch for help, it is a much better system for them to feel supported, to get that help that they need because of the extra rigor.
Right, and as a testament to Mike Kreideman's teaching there, my son did AB Calc last year as a sophomore, scored a 5 on his AP exam. And this year I'm hearing constantly at the dining room table, I understand everything. He's so helpful, and I feel so confident about taking BC, even though there's just a few of us in there. And to have that opportunity, even though it's a small class, that Belleville does that is remarkable to me. My 2 older kids have not gone through Belleville. Those were not opportunities that they had in their high schools.
Now, curious, again, we're joined by Nate Perry, District Administrator with Belleville School District, and Marie Perry, Communications Director with Belleville School District here, again, on To The Point. There's got to be a kind of a trickle-down effect when you have so many kids, so many AP classes, and percentages of kids taking AP classes. How does that adjust maybe curriculum then? Do you have to look at, and have you guys had to look at maybe shifting curriculum to allow more students these opportunities so kind of folks are on the same page? Can you kind of go into the curriculum aspect a little bit?
I'll take that one, then maybe Marie as a parent can answer too. So speaking of math, if a student wants to get to AP Calculus BC as a senior, they have to take Calculus AB as a junior, Pre-Calc as a sophomore, and then oftentimes they're doubling up as a freshman. They're taking Geometry and Algebra 2 as a freshman, which means they've got to take geometry in 8th grade. So yes, that all does flow together. For a student really advanced in math, which we have some of those, there's got to be a little bit even greater grade advancement. So some of those classes, they might be taking a high school class in 8th grade that actually goes on their transcript at Belleville High School. I think we have 2 8th graders doing that right now. And that points to Marie's story, that then there is a youth options credit where if they want to go to UW-Madison, take an off-campus class at UW-Madison their senior year, the school district, actually every school district in the state would pay for that. We do have some taking advantage of that as well. It gives them a really true college experience then.
But when you look at all the students too, Science Olympiad is a wonderful program that we have. And you see how many of the AP students are interested from the sciences in taking their AP experiences and then fine-tuning into an academic sport like that. It gives I would just say, not only does our curriculum support, okay, here are the schedules, how can we make this happen for the students here? And I watch a lot of my son's friends going through that too. But then there's support with academic teams that say, hey, you've got a place here too. You may not be playing for football, but you can do this and have a really great social and academic athletic choice as well.
I would totally agree with Marie. It is, having been in much bigger high schools, sometimes there's a stigma that, let's say that you're the starting point guard on the basketball team. You're not going to be on the math team. You're not going to be on the science Olympiad team. You're going to do one or the other. And at Belleville, you've got kids where it's cool to do science Olympiad. It's cool to be on the math team. In fact, they get their own T-shirts and wear them around school. And that's part of the culture that it's a positive thing to be smart and to own that.
And I think that's really important when you're thinking about college or you're thinking about jobs after high school, where, that idea of community, and we all belong and we all support each other and we support our kids through our teachers. And look at Mrs. Smith going back to school. I mean, most people are busy during the summer and at our age, to add something else, but she sits there and thinks about her students, just like all of our teachers do. How can I make that classroom better for them? Let's think about the economics right now. It's not easy for any of us, especially those of us that are trying to help support our kids go on to a college level experience. So to make these things happen and affordable, and we know what we're getting, it just gives us a chance to really get our arms around everybody and support one another, whether you're a sports person or an academic.
And I'm sure folks can always reach out to you guys, someone at the school, if they want to learn more. Hey, I've got a student at Belleville. How can they get involved in some of these AP classes? Just going back to the $100 a credit, is that something that the parents would pay for upon registration for school, that type of thing? Does that go to the school? Does that go directly to UW River Falls? Go into that a little bit here for how does that work?
You bet. So as soon as the student registers, the parents pay that $100 per credit themselves. And that goes right to UW River Falls. So we're involved with that process, but we want to make sure that the school's not on the hook for that as well. But again, it's a great value for anybody that's looked at prices at even affordable colleges these days.
And I'll just jump in there too. If you have a college fund already established for your kids, that was my first question to Mrs. Smith this year. I'm like, can I actually use some of that now because it's a college credit? And so, I was just reimbursed my $525 from my son's college fund because we're going to go ahead and do this. So it makes it reasonable for all of us to try to join in and do it.
All right. And these AP courses we're talking about, specifically the physics and the chem for Mrs. Smith, is that only for UW River Falls, all UW systems?
So the credit will be a UW River Falls credit on their transcript, but that, again, it would be accepted at any UW system, again, from La Crosse, Madison, Milwaukee, any of those that are in the system.
All right. When did AP? Because I'd like to think I'm not too far removed, but I'm getting as I look in the mirror, I'm getting more and more removed from my high school days here, Nate. As our colleague here, Kate Stewart, sits in on this and laughing at me. But when did schools the size of a Belleville, when did AP courses really see this uptick and say, hey, let's up our curriculum because we got kids that are bright. They want to go on to do big things. Let's provide them. When did schools Belleville size, and just using you guys as an example, when did this become kind of that big step here?
Sure. I'll answer that question this way. I would say that, back all the way back into the 1980s, schools were introducing AP classes, maybe not at the broad range that we have now, but starting to get into, a very standard one that most schools would have had at that time would have been AP US History, for example, AP Biology. What you're seeing now, especially with schools of choice and open enrollment numbers, we're fortunate this year to have a neutral open enrollment. We have the same number coming in as going out because it becomes a big budget factor, but you really do have to market yourself and provide opportunities for students. So I can just speak for myself, being 10 years ago that I became the Belleville High School principal, and it was clear that if we were not offering enough or competitive types of AP or dual enrollment courses, that we were going to lose students to neighboring school districts. And so just in the last 10 years. We've added Calc BC, we've added environmental science, we've added AP statistics. Those were just a few that we've added in that time. And was talking off air, we've had some of our most successful students graduate a year and a half early from UW-Madison because they come in with so many. If you can take 10 AP courses, you get a 3, 4, 5. I mean, you may be looking at as few as 30 credits that you're coming in at, which would make you, again, a full-fledged sophomore going into your freshman year of school.
And it also gives these students a taste in a sheltered environment about what they might like or not like. You know, you get to sample these classes and you think, oh, I'm going to love this. And maybe you do. And maybe you go, oh, but I actually love this one because I could try this too.
Wow. Fascinating. And you guys obviously some big news and some awesome things happening at the Belleville School District. And one of your own, Mrs. Smith, putting the time in, as you guys talked a little bit about, Marie, of how can she better their classroom. And I'm sure more and more things like this will be coming your guys' way in the near future. Hey, thanks for coming in, Marie, Nate, and sharing this story and sharing a little bit about the schools. We hear a lot about how the football team do on Friday. It's good to hear what's going on in the classroom Monday through Friday. So thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Marie Perry, Communications Director, Nate Perry, District Administrator at the Belleville School District, our guests here today on WEKZ for To The Point.